All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and I'm going over the series of 11 articles on getting started with ASP.NET MVC 5 from the docs.microsoft.com MVC overview. And I've gone through getting started, adding a controller, adding a view, adding a model, creating a connection string and working with SQL Server Local DB, accessing your model's data from a controller, and I just finished examining the edit methods and edit view. So now we're into adding search. And as I mentioned at the end of the last video, in this section we're going to add search capability to the index action method that lets you search for movies by either genre or by name. So it says start by updating the index method of the existing movie controllers class. So let's do that. This is movies controller, and again we want to come in and we want to update the index action method of the existing movies controller class. Alright, that right now looks like this. Let's make sure that's the only one. These are all redirects, so it looks like it. So we'll back up to the top. And again, what I like to do is to take everything that's in here. I'm going to highlight all of it, and I may probably have never shown you this, but if I go up to the top here, I go up to my menu, and I should stop the run, of course. I didn't realize I was still running. But if I highlight all of this, and I go over to here, it says comment out these selected lines. So now they are all commented out. Now that would wreak havoc if I was trying to run the program, but I'm not right now. Instead, I want to add this. So let's add that. We'll put it right below the one that was in there. So now that's what we have. All right, and then let's go in and take a look at this line by line. This, and it's the first time we've seen anything like this, this is what's called a link or a line integrated query. And what this does is it selects all of the movies from the table. So we're saying from M in DB movies, so that's basically, you can look at that as being a temporary variable that we're creating. We're telling it to go through the movies variables and basically select everything that's in there. All right. The query is defined as it says at this point, but it hasn't yet been run against the database. Okay. If the search string parameter contains a string, and that's what we're checking for here, the movies query is modified on the value of the search string using the code that's in here. This is what's referred to as a lambda expression. Now, it's important for you and for your edification to go in and take, for example, take a look at this. All right. Believe it or not, we have worked with the equivalent of lambda expressions before, because they say a lambda expression is an anonymous function. We have worked with anonymous functions in JavaScript and in jQuery, but this is the way it's done here. Now there's more to it than that, but if you look, to create a lambda expression, you specify any input parameters on the left-hand side, and then you've got this operator, which is our lambda expression operator, and then, okay, you put whatever the statement is that you want on the right-hand side. So it says, do this, and take the value of that and return it into here. So this would say square 5, which would be 25, and return 25 into x. Now that's not a great explanation. I would strongly suggest that you read this. All right? But we're doing a similar type of thing here. So we're asking if we find a title that contains the string that we passed in, as long as it's not empty, put that into S. All right? So what we're starting to do here is we're starting to create search capability. All right? Lambdas are used in methods based on linked queries as arguments to standard query operators such as where. All right? And that's what we have here. Linked queries are not executed when they are defined or when they are modified by calling a method such as where or order by. Rather, their execution is deferred. What that means is the evaluation of the expression is delayed until it realizes whether or not it can actually work, for lack of better words. There's a contains in here, and that's very similar to the like operation that you use in SQL, and it's case insensitive. Okay? It says now we can update the index view that will display the form to the user. So what does that mean? Well, we've got this in here, so let's save and let's run it again. Again, ideally when we run this, I've commented out the old index method that was in there. I think it's up above this, all right? But when we run this now, it won't look on the surface, it shouldn't look any different. Okay? On the surface, this should not look any different. But we should be able to update the index view that displays the form to the user. All right? Now, we want to run this and we want to put in index. If we put in index and hit enter, it should look exactly the same. Because remember that whether we put index in or not, if we leave index off, it runs the default method for the movie's controller, and the default method is index. But now if we come in here and we append a query string onto this, all right, and I'm going to put a query string in here, and that query string is going to say, not what they have in the book, but I'm going to say search string equals, and I'm going to put the word the in there and hit enter. Notice what I have. I've got all movies that contain the word the, whether it's at the beginning, the end, whether it's in there any place, and regardless of capitalization. So we've begun to come in here and start filtering. They use Ghostbusters, and they've got Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2, and that's on page 3. All right. If you change the signature of the index method to have a parameter named ID, the parameter will match the ID placeholder. So what you saw in there, let me stop the run. I'm going to stop any runs that I have, anything I've got running here. All right. So the author says that what we should do, this was what this looked like. But they want us to come in here, and instead of saying string, okay, they want us to make a change to it. So again, what I will do, just like we took the original index and commented out, I'm now going to take this index and I'm going to comment it out. Or try to, its program's running, and that's why it won't let me. So I'm going to comment that out. There. All right, and then I'm going to come down below that. Now, I'm getting to where I'm getting code bloat. In other words, even though they're comments, I've got code in there I don't need. But I'm keeping that in there so I can see for myself the natural progression that I've been making here. All right, so we did the search. That was the original method, and they want us to modify it so it looks like this. Copy. Let's paste that in. And the author says now we can pass the search title as route data rather than query data. Now that may not sound important, but it's going to simplify what we're trying to do here. So let's save, let's run it again. After this comes up, we will again iterate our way over to the movies controller. I could do it now, you saw that before, but I'm just going to wait and let it come up. All right, so I will iterate over to movies. Okay. And now notice it says, whoop, what didn't it like? This should bring up our complete movies page. If it doesn't, I did something. There we go. But now we can go in and we can pass right here, the. Oh, brother. Oh, we've got to go to, I think we have to go to index. Remember, that's a parameter, so we have to let it know what we want it to run, then the. There we go. And we could change this to anything we wanted to. Friday. We've got one Friday the 13th. I was trying to remember if I have anything else that's combined where I've got, you know, I could search, I could just put in everything that's got a T in it, for example. All right. I don't know. I think now what I'm searching for are just titles that are in here. So I can't put in something like animation or whatever. How about if we put in CA? Because I know there's Cars 2 and there's Cannibal. So you can see I get the CA from both of them. Okay, I think that's enough where hopefully you understand what I'm talking about in here. So the author says you can't expect users to modify the URL each time they want to search for a movie. So you'll want to add a user interface to help them filter movies. If you change the signature of the index method to test how to pass the route-bound ID parameter, okay, change it back. So we want it to look back and look the way that it did before. So in other words, let's stop the run. Let's go back to our code. Stop that. Take this that we just added, comment this out, and then take this and uncomment it. I believe that's what the author's saying there. Okay? So, open the views, movies, index.cs HTML file. Let's save that first. So the views, movies, index.cs file. And just after the action link, add the form markup that's highlighted below. All right? So just after the action link for well, let's see what they have here. How about that? Add the form highlighted before. Open that up, and just after the create, new create, we want to add this. All right. Index, there it is. So we want to come in there and add that. This HTML begin form is another one of these HTML helpers, it creates an opening form tag. It causes the form to post to itself when the user submits the form by clicking the filter button. Now they're saying with the index view open in Visual Studio shown in the image above, so that's where we are. Let's save. And it says do a Control F5 or an F5 to run the application. So let's just run. After we run, notice it remembers where we were, so it's iterating over the movies. So ideally now we're going to have a text box that comes up that says title, and we're going to be able to come in there and put in whatever we want, so to speak. All right, so there's my title. So now I can come in and filter. So if I type in Rio and click filter, I should have just Rio Bravo. As we saw before, if I type in the, I get everything with the in it. So nothing, there's no HTTP post overhead of the index method. We don't need it because the method isn't changing anything, we're just filtering. The author mentions on the bottom of page 8, you could add the following index method. In that case, the action invoker would match the post index method, and the index method would run just as shown in the image below. All right, I don't care. I'm just going to leave it the way that it is. It says, however, even if you add this, there's a limitation in how all of this has been implemented. Okay, and then they show a fix for it. Again, I'm just going to leave it the way it is because I like the way it's looking right now, to be honest with you. All right. Now, when you submit a search, the URL contains a search query string. Searching also will go to the index action method, even if you do a post. So, it says if you added the post version, delete it now. Well, another reason for not adding it. Next, we'll add a feature that also will allow the user to search for movies by genre. It says replace the index method with the following code. All right, so I'm back in the article here. Let's stop my run. And let's come and stop this and come back to the article. We're working our way down, as you can see. And I'm going to change the index method. All right, so I'm going to come back into here. I want to find my index method that we had, which is not there. I believe it's in here, right? Yep. Grab all this and comment it out, as we've been doing. Come down to the bottom here and paste that one in. All right. This will allow us to search for movies by genre. All right. This version takes an additional parameter, and that's the movie genre right there. The first few lines that we see in the code right here, they're creating a list object that will hold all of the movie genres from the database. Remember, we have things like action, adventure, horror, etc. Now, I don't have a lot of them. I don't have, for example, sports movies. I don't have comedies, I don't have dramas, but you get the idea. Then we've got a link query right here. That retrieves all of the genres from the database. And you'll notice that next we take that genre list that we have created. Sorry. Okay. And we're using the add range method to add them all to a list. And without using that distinct modifier in there, it would show duplicates, which we don't want. All right. The code then stores the list of genres in our view bag, and we call it movie genre, which surely makes sense. We store it in the view bag, and then we can access the data in the drop-down list, and that's a typical approach to use. All right. Then we come in here and we're running again to grab all of our movies, and we're checking it like we did before. If there is no genre, I believe we're going to end up showing just all genres. So we'll try that just to see. Okay? So next, we're told to add markup to the index view to support search by genre. I'm on the bottom of page 12 on this particular article that we're going over. So it says, add an HTML.dropdown list helper to the views movies index CSHTML just before the text box helper. So it says the completed markup is shown here. So what I want to do is I want to go to my index CSHTML file. All right. And let's take a look over here. So we want to add that line, it looks like, right before we've got the title stuff that's in there. So this is our, I believe I'm in the right place, views, movies, index dots, yep, that's the right place. And we're adding that, where is that paragraph? There's the create, there's our using. Got a paragraph here that's got the search string, and it looks like we want to change this. We've got title, search string, etc. We want to add that line. Okay. Believe that's everything that we need to do. Now, this line that we just added that you see right here, the parameter movie genre provides the key for the drop-down list helper to find an IEnumerable select list item in the view bag. Remember, we populated the view bag earlier in our action method. The parameter all that we put in there provides an option label. If you inspect that choice in the browser, you'll see its value is empty. Since our controller only filters if the string is not null or empty, submitting an empty value will show all genres. We'll try that in a minute. You can also set an option to be selected by default. So if we set that in there, we could have done that. So we brought up a certain kind of genre by default when we started. I'm not going to do that. Okay? But I am going to save, and I'm going to run again. We're just about finished with this particular article. So I want to see if this is going to work. I'm here. Okay, there's genre and there's title. Notice it's got all, which shows everything. If I only want my actions and I filter, there are my action movies. I'm I'm just going to try all of them to double check. There are my adventure movies. There are my animations, my horror movies, my science fiction movie, and my Western movie. So all looks good. So in this section, we created a search action method and a view that allows search by movie title or by genre. All right. In the next section, we'll look at how to add a property to the movie model to add an initializer that will automatically create a test database for us. So we're going to be able to add a new field. Now this next presentation is, I believe, the longest one that's in there out of these articles. The one we just went over was 14 pages. The next one is 21 pages. So I may have to break that up into 2 different videos. We'll see when we get to that point. Back soon.